Everyone, and welcome to a Game Week 30 preview and a Game Week 29 review, and it's a little bit of a weird one. So, despite the score being pretty good at 67 minus 4, so obviously 63, it's a good score overall. It could have been better. Of course, we now know that Manchester City and Arsenal, that fixture has been postponed because of Arsenal playing Olympiacos. The owner of Olympiacos got coronavirus and they were in isolation apparently. So I was thinking, well, does that mean Brighton for Arsenal this weekend is going to be put off as well? Because obviously 14 days, but apparently they're about to finish that. So that's still going ahead. That's what they're talking about. But going into this team then, we'll have just a really, really quick review. McCarthy, 12 points, penalty save, absolute hero. So there's a couple of big scores, a couple of small scores, as you can see. O'Connell, fortunate enough to catch the team news for Liverpool that Robertson was out. So even though he didn't come on, I didn't want to risk Robertson maybe being on the bench and then coming on for like a 2-minute cameo. So O'Connell came in for that clean sheet against Norwich. I was considering bench boosting, so I didn't have to in the end anyway. TAA, nothing this game week, and then Doherty there with a blank. A clean sheet, so 6 points. Snodgrass sneaking on in there for 1 point. Now, I'll tell you why this is good news and why it's actually it's not 1 point. It's more like 3. It's because, of course, Kevin De Bruyne didn't play. Robertson was first sub, Snodgrass was second, and Hallgate -1. So Snodgrass coming in before Hallgate. This is why sorting out your bench is such a key thing. So Snodgrass comes in for 1 instead of Hallgate coming in for -1. So, you know, points make prizes. Barnes, unbelievable. This is why I held him. This is what it's Operation Target Aston Villa. And yeah, it sounds mean, but I'm sorry, but it's working. The people that keep, gunning against Aston Villa with attacking assets, it's just working pretty much every week recently. 19 points. Well, what more can you say? What a performance. Salah getting there on the score sheet, 9 points as well. My vice captain, which brings me on to Captain Pepe. It was a Pepe punt. I don't regret it. I was considering, so I brought Pepe in and he came in for Bruno Fernandes. So of course, Bruno Fernandes also got 6 points because he got that lovely assist against Manchester City. So it did cost me 4 points, but look, we're in hindsight, right? The Pepe was going to come in for either Bruno Fernandes, Kevin De Bruyne, or Barnes. And Operation Aston Villa, so I kept hold of Barnes, so that was lucky because that's 19 points. Kevin De Bruyne, I thought, okay, he might not play both games. I don't think he'll play against Burnley. So I think he might get Arsenal, and he battered Arsenal last time. It got cancelled. So Pepe being captain, he had a double game week. So even though Bruno got 6 points, Pepe would have, even if he just played against Arsenal and got 2 points, it would have given me an additional 4 points because he's my captain. And then Kevin De Bruyne maybe would have played. So it would have worked out. I feel really sorry for the people that, for example, did a free hit to pile in a lot of Arsenal players, a lot of Man City players because, it was their double game week and it's not paid off. And you just can't plan for something like a game getting called off on the day, pretty much on the day. So I woke up this morning and it would have been really late time in the UK and they called off pretty much on the day for City and Arsenal to postponed. There's just nothing to do about that. And that's just the way it is. And then my entire front line blanked. We'll talk a bit about Wolves later on. Everyone had a poor game on Saturday, but that's the way it is. And I've already done my fixtures. So because I had such a good game week, this game week, I'm not free hitting in game week 31. I've talked about it on the stream last Friday. We talked about chip strategies, and this Friday coming up again, stream time is usually about 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday, so please feel free to come in and join about that. I'm not free hitting in 31, so I've already done my transfers, and perhaps you might think it's a risk, but with the way that the team's going and the way that I think the team selections are going to be, Kevin De Bruyne has gone out. I did say on the stream before I did Bruno Fernandes out that Kevin De Bruyne going out, I feel not just the money going around. People say, oh, but there's no one to replace Kevin De Bruyne with. spread the money around to who? But it's not like you take a midfielder, Kevin De Bruyne, out, and it has to be a midfielder to go back in. So that Kevin De Bruyne money might upgrade, a 4 million defender to a 5.5 million defender, or a 6 million defender, or a 5 million striker to a 7 or 8 million striker. So I disagree with the idea of not taking De Bruyne out, and with the fact that I really don't think he might get a few minutes against Burnley. Fine, but then he's got Real Madrid, and then he's got Liverpool. Then he can come back. People always just think if you take him out of your team, you can't bring him back. Well, I actually sold him, I think, for 10.5, and his price went down, so I think he's 10.5 or 10.6. So I can get him back. It's not an issue. So Bruno back in for Kevin De Bruyne, and I just did Pope for Button. So it is a -4, but because I had such a game week this game week, and I have to take a -4, and that means instead of taking like a -8 coming into game week 31, I'm able to just take another -4, and I should have 10 players for game week 31 without using a free hit, which is the aim. So it'll only cost me in total about 8 points spread over. I started building this team a few weeks ago. I think that's going to be worth it to save that free hit for what could be a monster free hit double game week in game week 37, but we just don't know. The season could get cut short. It could be pushed back. Double game weeks could be spread out. We could be behind closed doors. We really don't know what's going on at the moment. But I've already got my transfers, and Pope is going to be in goal for McCarthy anyway. And I'm going to be keeping these two goalkeepers now because in the next couple of weeks we'll be bench boosting. So of course, if I'm bench boosting in hopefully a double game week 34, or just whenever these subs have got a double game week, that's why it was time to bring in a second playable goalkeeper. And I got McCarthy when he's 4.3, so it's not like there's a sort of a cheaper combo out there. And I want Pope because Burnley's fixtures are looking pretty good. This is how I'm setting up going into this game week. So Salah's probably going to have the captaincy with Liverpool really close now to the Premier League title. Jimenez is my vice because West Ham's still leaky at the back. I know that they did a really good performance against Arsenal, and I know they're going to be at home, but I still do see them conceding goals. Pepe's going to be... the reason as well why I chose Pepe and why I'm keeping hold of Pepe for now, because I could have just done Pepe out and Bruno back in for Pepe, is because Brighton away, it's a decent fixture, and then blank, and then Norwich at home, so it's still a good differential. So I'm still pretty happy with the side. Ings is... a lot of people shipping him out as well. Remember, red card, he was pushed out to left wing. He wasn't doing his usual striker role. It is probably going to be his last week because my future plan is going to be most likely Ings out, Chris Wood in to give me a game with 31 player. And then it was going to probably be Holgate for a Burnley defender because Pope and whatever Burnley player I bring in. People will say Charlie Taylor. I might go for someone like Ben Mee because they will play 31 and 34. So that'll just be a little bit safer there. And that's my plans basically for the up and coming game week. Having a look at the players. So I put a little dash, it's not a yes, it's not a no for Kevin De Bruyne or Aubameyang because I guess I could have put an X, but I just feel it's a little bit unlucky because we don't know if Kevin De Bruyne would have played against Arsenal. We don't know if Aubameyang would have done anything against Arsenal. It's just called off, so that's the way that I'm leaving it like this. And Pereira getting a clean sheet against Aston Villa. Unsurprising. When I did the review last time about why I chose Pereira over some perhaps other attacking assets, was just his consistency. He's the second biggest Leicester scorer after Jamie Vardy, and I just felt like it was definitely going to be a clean sheet and maybe some attacking returns, but he did get his clean sheet points. Doherty, clean sheet. Sarr, nothing against Palace. And Alonso, someone that we're going to be talking to again. Huge Chelsea performance against Everton. Absolutely destroyed them. And even though they destroyed them, Alonso not picking up any additional points there. But that is something that I think is going to change in this coming game week. So going through my picks on who to go for. The first one, Raul Jimenez, 8 million, 32.5% ownership. So a frustrating and lackluster performance from Wolves against Brighton. But Jimenez still showed a couple of, that sparks of threat that he's got a couple of half volleys, and he had a bit of a scruffy chance inside the box that went straight to the goalkeeper. But Saturday saw most teams have a shocker. It wasn't just Wolves. It wasn't just Wolves and Brighton. Apparently, it was some of the worst stats that the Premier League has ever seen on that Saturday from all the teams on that Saturday. But Jimenez is still a talisman of the side. Wolves have the best looking fixtures up until game week 34 as well, and they don't blank in game week 31, so it's really easy to recommend the Mexican marksman. West Ham, Bournemouth, Aston Villa in the next 3 sees Real face 3 relegation threatened sides as Wolves fight for a top 4 place. Second up, Raul Fernandez, Bruno Fernandez, 8.5 million, 15.6%. So long-time viewers will know way back at the start of his United career, I brought in Bruno Fernandes for Mane before the Wolves game in game week 25, and he's been man of the match every game so far, and he's been named player of the month. I took that risk swapping him out for Pepe instead of Kevin De Bruyne because I wanted the double game week opportunity, and I'm more than willing to admit that it didn't work out, and I cannot have him out of my side any longer. He was only going to be out for like a week or two anyway. But if you've watched him, he passes the eye test with flying colours. Numbers wise, he's picked up 36 points in the last 4 game weeks, and he faces a Spurs side who looks so lost at the moment that if they actually had fewer points, I would actually peg them as real possible relegation candidates. Captaining Fernandes this week with United in good form. And going for 4th place against a Spurs side coming back from Germany with the tails between their legs, and a manager basically calling their most expensive signing absolute garbage, probably not getting back in the side. So I wouldn't put it past the Portuguese former Sporting player to get one over the Portuguese former Porto manager. And United are actually second in the form table at the moment, and they've only conceded 1 goal and scored 8 in the last 5 matches. So maybe it's even worth looking at a Manchester United defender going forward. Spurs don't have a recognised striker. United have decent fixtures coming up. But just for right now, I'm going to be sticking with recommending Bruno Fernandes. And of course, Liverpool, champions-elect, could wrap up the title in the next week or two, and I think they'll stay pretty much full strength until they do. They also play in game week 31. They could win the title in game week 31. And, you can just back the usual candidates. If I had to choose one this week, it'd probably be Mane because it's an away game, and we always tend to back Mane away from home and Salah at home. People might say Firmino, he is a differential, but I think there are slightly better options out there at the minute than Firmino. I still think he's one of my favourite Premier League players, but in terms of FPL, he's really hit and miss. He can be very, very frustrating. So going into the differentials of the week, and we are going to be starting with Marcos Alonso again. Recommended last week, recommended before. Can't change a good thing. And he's still got 3.9% ownership. 6.1 million can put a lot of people off. That's probably why the team selected by ownership is still pretty low. But 8 points, 16 points, 6 points. And Alonso has the opportunity to exploit the left wing. This is the same left wing side that Harvey Barnes has just destroyed Villa on for 19 points. If Chelsea mark Grealish out of the game, there's a strong potential of a clean sheet. Give Alonso a license to roam down that left side, and the opportunity and potential for an attacking return is also really, really strong. Right now, like I said before, it's Operation Target Aston Villa, which is so far working for a lot of FPL managers. Doherty as well, 6.2 million, 8.2%. Similar reasons to what I said earlier about Raul Jimenez. And whilst size is proving a popular choice, and Vinagre as the other wing back who was a little bit more attacking, and he was my man of the match actually against Brighton, I still feel that the extra money for Doherty, that extra experience as well, is worth it. He's returned consecutively in the last 5 games, so he's not blanked in 5 game weeks, and 2 of those were double-digit hauls. For me, I'll have a simple but effective Trent, Robertson, Doherty back 3 in game week 31, and that could really do a great job. If we have a game week 31, because Wolves are being still forced to play closed doors against Olympiacos, despite City against Arsenal getting called off because the Olympiacos owner who also owns Nottingham Forest in the Championship, confirmed he has coronavirus. So, Are they going to get quarantined? Who knows? So we don't know what's going to happen at the minute. So let's just play the game as we usually would. I'm not going to be, taking on my Wolves assets out because they might get quarantined. And last but not least, Mikael Antonio, 6.9 million, 0.8%, man of the moment. Everyone suggested him. I said this was going to happen. I suggested him the week before last. When he returned against Southampton, I said on stream the week before I didn't have stats for him. I couldn't say, he's having loads of big chances and shots inside the box. I said it was a gut feeling and it was an eye test. We joked, we laughed, we cried about it on stream, and he went and got 11 points against Southampton. And last week against Arsenal, he could have scored from about 2 yards out because he just hooked it wide, and he could have got an assist, but he pulled it back too much for Hallier. He is expensive at just under 7 million, so he's 6.9, but he is a midfielder playing as a striker. West Ham still have tough fixtures. However, they have that extra fight in them because, they're in that relegation scrap. They also don't blank in game week 31, and they're against that Spurs side I said before, and I could just find him bullying West Ham to 3 points at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So that is going to wrap up Game Week 31. It is the quiet before the storm, of course. Game Week 31 is going to be a huge one. People free hitting, people not. Remember, maybe about half of the game are not really active at the moment. Check things like Reddit, they'll be more informed. But let's just say out of the 7 million managers, 4 million are still playing. 3 million are probably going to miss out on this game week. That's why I feel more comfortable in not taking that free hit. The last advice I'd give is if you can field 8 or more, and I'm talking quality players like 3 Liverpool, 3 Wolves, like actual ones that will return. I'm not saying like relying on people like Charlie Taylor, like a bunch of sort of bench fodder to come in. I would say if you could get 8 out there, I'm saving my free hit. That's my last piece of advice. But let me know who are your potential players for this game week. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the stream on Friday, and as always, have a good one.